Nowhere in the world are there two neighbours with such dramatic cultural differences as Australia and Indonesia. These two nations might well be half a world apart with profoundly different language, culture, religion, history, population size, and in social systems. Australia's vast open landscape is in stark contrast to the tropical archipelago that is Indonesia. While Australia has the smallest population per capita, Indonesia is the third most densely populated nation on Earth. Indonesia is the nation with the largest Muslim population, while Australia is historically Christian. Indonesia and Australia have not always seen eye to eye, and while there will always be differences, according to many, the cultural relationship of these two countries has an exciting future ahead of it. Australia has not always looked at Indonesia as a threat. Before the arrival of Europeans, Aboriginals and Indonesians were trading partners, and when it came to Indonesia declaring independence in the fledgling UN, Australia was one of the first countries to lend their support. However, since then, the relationship has traversed a rocky road. Events in recent years have deepened the mistrust between these Asia-Pacific neighbours. In 1999, Australia lost the trust of Indonesians when it actively supported the independence of East Timor. In 2002, 3 bombs went off outside popular nightclubs in the tourist hotspot of Bali, killing 202 people, including 88 Australians. In 2004, a bomb went off outside the Australian embassy in Jakarta, killing 9 people. 2005. After a controversial trial, Australian woman Schapelle Colby was sentenced to 20 years in prison for attempting to smuggle cannabis into Bali. 2005, another bombing occurred in Bali, killing 20 more people, including 4 Australians, increasing already high fears of terrorism in Indonesia, further reducing Australian tourist numbers, particularly to Bali. 2005, the Bali Nine were arrested for attempting to smuggle heroin into Indonesia. This began a number of legal battles which has so far seen 6 of them sentenced to death under Indonesian law. In 2006, Indonesia again felt betrayed by Australia when Australia granted temporary protection visas to 43 Papuan asylum seekers. Once again, they were seen to be involving themselves in Indonesian affairs. These recent occurrences built on deep-seated historical tensions, such as Australia's fear of the enemy from the north, making Indonesia the nation most feared by Australians, according. While, at a political level, the relationship has taken a huge boost from the Australian elections, at a cultural level, it has been strong for many years, with many cultural exchanges taking place each year. Fiona Hogarth, Cultural Secretary at the Australian Embassy in Jakarta, says that it is important that Australia and Indonesia understand each other and each other's society and culture, because this will lead to a better relationship. She argues that the neighbours have many common interests, such as border security, fisheries and agriculture.
And let's face it, as neighbours we always will have occasional problems. This is common sense tells us that this is very normal, and in fact it's very healthy. If we had no disagreements, it would mean that we had no relationship. The fact that we have such a good relationship means that occasionally we have, things that we talk about. But the people-to-people relations, the cultural exchange that underpins all those sorts of engagements means that no matter what the disagreements are, no matter what the debates are, we have a common understanding, a mutual understanding about how Indonesians are, what their society is like. At the same time, Indonesians understand, well, this is Australia. Australia, like Indonesia, is a democracy. Australia, like Indonesia, is a multicultural society, a diverse society with people from many different backgrounds, different religions, different languages, and we, like Indonesians, have many challenges in dealing with those sorts of issues that come from being a rich, robust, democratic, multicultural society.
Dr. Gusrizal has been working towards starting a teacher exchange between Indonesia and Australia. He believes that through understanding language, students will also begin to understand each other's culture, and he sees this as a way to further develop the relationship between the two countries.
Well, I think for Indonesian, we must realize that we are not strengthening the relationship of the two countries, not in political issues. It's better to strengthen the relationship between culture. So culture is the most important thing, starting point of the two countries. I remember when the former Australian Prime Minister said that the two countries has more important about economic and cultural relationship. Well, I think Bahasa Indonesia teaching in Australia is the biggest in the world. And so many Australian students in Australia learning Bahasa. So I think through the teaching Bahasa Indonesia, many Australian students might to know about Indonesia more. It's not only Bali, for example.
Like many close neighbours, there has been constant quarrelling over the back fence, but there continue to be opportunities to strengthen the relationship. Exchanges of education and culture can only lead to increased knowledge and understanding. After all, that's when good neighbours become good friends.